following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. New York Mets baseball, past, present, and future. Robert Cole just checked in. He's here. Marty Rose is here. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. And here we go. We have an exciting show. A lot on the line in the next day or so. Decisions to be made as to, we won't be making the decisions, but the Mets will. Big trade hanging. So start with you, Marty. What's out there, and what do you think of it?
Well, the thing that's being talked about today, which I guess they let go, and it won't happen tonight, but this Robinson Cano deal, which they haven't really named a lot of potential players, but from what I've seen, it'd be Robinson Cano and this guy Diaz, who's a closer. And the names that were mentioned from the Mets side were two past number one picks. This guy Dunn, who's a pitcher, who had moved up, I believe. He was most of the year in Binghamton last year, AA. And this kid Kellenick, who's only 19 years old. So,
are they going to include McNeil in that deal?
Not that I've heard. No, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think so. But the main thing is, do you want a 36-year-old Robinson Cano? I mean, I don't know. To me, this is my opinion, but somebody takes PEDs. There's a reason that they maybe think that they're starting to slip a little bit. I don't like it. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't like it.
I'm going to ask Robert, did he come back well after, did he perform well after coming back? Presumably clean. Is that a new chemist?
Yeah, they actually were playing him at first base towards the end of the year. He played 14 or 16 games at first base and also DH some. And I don't think he actually got back at second base towards the end of last year once he came back. But the names that are being mentioned are the ones that Marty said. Jared Kelenic, who was the number one draft choice this past year, Justin Dunn, Jay Bruce, Anthony Swarzak, and Jeff McNeil.
So
as
McNeil is at
540.
Now, when I first heard the name McNeil, when the prospect of giving him up, because of he's a first-year player, I didn't think of him as a 26-year-old because he had been hurt a lot in the minors and came up slow. So it's not like you're giving up a total kid. Boy, it's definitely a tough one.
Well, you're trading, a 26-year-old, first-year guy who had a good year and is the kind of guy, he's a table setter. He puts the ball over the ballpark for a 36-year-old guy, who plays the same position. They're both left-handed hitters. Cano is known more for his power than he is, batting average. As Marty said, got suspended for PEDs last year, has often been accused of not hustling. And when you talk about Machado, people point to Cano as being an older version of what Machado is now. You're trying to change the culture in your clubhouse, and you're going to bring, Robinson Cano in. I mean, I'm fine with the deal except for the Cano part and the McNeil part. And Seattle, what I'm 35 different potential deals working. For Cano, for Diaz, for John Segura, the shortstop. They're willing to do a package deal. They're willing to do, one player at a time. I mean, if you could take McNeil out of this, equation, take Cano out of the equation, I'm fine with it. But this sounds more like a deal that the Yankees would be willing to make than I think the Mets should make right now. And you're also giving up your number one draft choice from this past year, who was rated as the best hitter in the draft, 19 years old, projects to be a center fielder. And the other name that I've heard mentioned that the Mets are insisting, if the trade is made, is that Seattle send them Alex Smith. Now, I'd be all right with that also, because he had a really good year for the Rays.
That sounds good, Marty.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't like Cano. I really thought McNeil showed a lot. He even hit.
They had a nice double play, the nicest double play combination defensively in the last 5 years.
Yeah, he did better defensively than people were saying, for sure. And he says he could move over to third, but I mean, I from what I saw of him at third, he's not a third baseman. I think
is Cano a third baseman if they got him without giving up McNeil?
I don't think so. No.
Like I said, Seattle played him some at first base. I mean,
we've got to keep first open for Alonso.
Right.
I think Alonso can really make it. I really do.
Yeah, Cano sounds like an American League player eventually. A DH kind of guy down the road. And
he's got 5 years left on his contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way the Mets would make the deal also is if Seattle would take back Jay Bruce and Swarzak. That would, sort of make the salaries a little better. And I have no problem with either one of them going, but not McNeil and not bringing back Cano.
Okay. I have to agree with you guys. 10 years is a big age difference. And in today's day and age, how many over 30 players are regulars anymore? That's part of the new thing is
it's about youth.
Post PED.
Yep. Yeah. And
so I think catching is a big thing.
Yeah. No, 35 PEDs.
Yeah, we got to talk about the catching situation too, because there's a lot of chatter about that.
What I'm reading now, Marty, is that the Mets are expected to non-tender d'Arnaud on Friday.
Yeah, I've been seeing that. Not surprised, and possibly Wilmer Flores as well.
Yeah, because his salary is getting pretty high for a backup player. So.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a catcher, Jonathan Lucroy, that the A's have, and he's a free agent, likely to get a sweetheart deal with the A's, but he's good defensively. He's good with the pitching staff, and I think that would be a good guy to go for.
Yeah, but I mean, at what cost? If the A's want him, what's your bargaining power? How high you have to want to go to get him?
For some reason, he just doesn't. He came inexpensively to the A's last year, so I don't know if I don't know why, but he seemed to have been a bargain. And he really solidified that pitching staff. So if you could think, he only hit about 240, 250, but if you could think in terms, if one could think in terms of a catcher being a defensive specialist,
there's a lot of names out there, you know. Mesoraco did well here last year, especially when he caught the Grom. Weeders is out there. Ramos is still out there. And there's some trade names that were thrown out there. Cervelli, Russell Martin, who's getting a little old. But the Cleveland catcher, Yan Gomes, the manager seems to like him. You know, Callaway.
Right.
He was there when Callaway was there too.
He was the pitching coach of Cleveland. Yeah, that's.
So his name was brought up, a possible trade as well. So, but you know, they just finished putting the front office together. So I don't know how quickly they can, you know, get things moving, but they better. They better start quick.
That brings us to, they've made several additions. Riggleman, I think he's firm into it. Chili Davis is being talked about, but I think it's firm with Riggleman. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Riggleman's been signed.
National League guy, former manager, baseball lifer, San Diego experience. Like I say, a lot of National League experience. I think that's a great one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this guy... sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say that this new VP, Assistant GM of Scouting, Allard Baird, okay, he's going to be the player development guy, work with Omar. He did really well with the Red Sox. He was GM for, I think, Kansas City for a while. So he was on the radio today doing an interview. So every time they ask him a question, he says, "I've been here for 2 days. I don't know anything." It was fun. It was, you know, they're asking him specific questions. Well, you know, I've been here for 2 days.
I know that, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be an analytic whiz, which...
No. The other guy is. They hired 2 guys, Ralph. Adam Guttridge.
Okay.
Adam Guttridge is the analytical guy that's supposed to set up the analytics department.
Right.
Okay. Now, this guy's so they have 2 assistants that they hired.
Assistant VP, he's the vice president, assistant general manager of scouting and player development.
Right.
He's going to work with Omar. So.
Okay.
And the other guy is in charge of analytics. In fact, setting up an analytics department, which the Mets don't even have.
Right. It's funny that they don't, and the Dodgers have taken, in the last few years, their old clubhouse, and they've taken out the lockers and put in cubicles, and they've got like 25 guys, 25 cubicles of analytic, you know, just do nothing but crunch numbers.
Right, yeah.
And the Mets don't even have a department set up. And just go by how the Dodgers have done the last few years, it's got to be paying off. Bill James doesn't head up, but he's an integral part of the Boston Red Sox front office, has been for some 5 years. Look how they've done over 5 years. I'm an old school guy, so if you go overboard with analytics, it's crazy making. But if you can combine analytics with the human elements, the eye test or whatever you want to call it, that seems to be working.
Well, you better take a lot of antidepressants, Ralph, because analytics is the way it's going to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. But like I say, the teams that are doing well are combining analytics with old school scouting. they're not just going to give up on scouts going out there and looking at guys. They're not just going to depend on stats. They're going to get to know the kid. You can't just put a guy on paper. That's how I see it. But at least they're starting to keep up as an organization.
Yeah, and then the other interesting thing is John Ricco is still listed as an assistant GM, but there's a chance that he's going to go by the wayside.
Okay.
So right now they're
going to keep Omar for international scouting?
Yeah, they don't even call him an assistant GM anymore. He's the head of scouting, I think is what it is. Isn't it, Marty?
Well, this guy Baird is the assistant general manager of scouting and player development, but I don't know what Omar's title is anymore, but this guy's going to be working with Omar for sure. So,
right.
I mean, well, it wouldn't surprise me if it were international scouting, head of international scouting, or some such title.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Because that's really his long suit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he likes doing. I mean, that's really his love.
Right. Anyway, what else?
One other, I don't know if you heard, one other player the Mets brought back is Dilson Herrera. I don't know if you remember Dilson Herrera from a couple of years ago, but he was supposed
they got him from Toronto.
And then they traded him in the Jay Bruce deal to Cincinnati.
Right.
And then basically he's just been a bench player and AAA player. But the Mets signed him to a minor league contract today.
Oh, that's all right. He could be our new Ty Kelly.
Well, he may become the new Wilmer Flores.
Right. Probably, say what you want about Wilmer defensively. He was very limited defensively, of course. But that guy had some big hits, and I'll miss the spirit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he needs to go to the American League. He really does. An American League team pick him up, as a DH and, part-time fill-in. I think he'd do very well.
Yeah. Dilson Herrera. That is the name. He was, there were about 3 or 4 guys. Santana was one in the infield going back and forth between second and short back about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And, when they got Bruce, of course. Now, they're rumored to trade him. Is that it?
Hey,
one other guy. They picked up a guy from Colorado who's a young guy.
Jordan Patterson?
Has some outfield experience, too. A first baseman. You're right.
No, gone.
And,
gone, Ralph. He was put on waivers today, and he was claimed.
Okay.
The guy they just picked up?
Yep.
Yep. What the hell's the point? What was the point?
Don't know, but I saw him on the waiver wire this evening, and I don't remember who picked him up. Somebody claimed him.
Can't even say. We won't even be able to say he wore number 67. He wore nothing.
Well, he played at Albuquerque, so I mean, he had 23 homers at Albuquerque. But
the only thing I can think of is that a trade is imminent, and they need to make room on the roster. So that they're doing that ahead of time.
Good.
Probably so. Yeah.
Good thought.
What do you guys think of the Syndergaard nonsense? I mean,
Nonsense.
Rumors here, rumors there. You think anything's going to happen there?
I hope not.
Yeah. I hope
not too, but the more I think about having the luxury of 5 starting pitchers who, top to bottom, best staff in baseball, can you afford, with so many holes to fill, can you really afford to keep 5 starters? And
it depends what they get offered for them, Somebody offers a guy an everyday player that they need. You got to think about it, but
they need more than that. They need a closer very badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of them out there. The Yankees have to make some decisions on their guys. Britton is going to be out there. Robinson's going to be out there.
Miller is out there.
Kimbrel is going to be out there. So, there's a bunch of them. You don't have to necessarily get one in a trade.
Yeah, but
another suitor for Syndergaard, believe it or not, are the Rays.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, the Rays are interested in Syndergaard, and the Rays are chocked full of talent, as far as young players. So.
Now, how about a potential closer to include in that deal?
The Rays really don't have a real closer. They really weren't using a closer. They do have some very young 100-mile-per-hour throwers, and one of them could very easily be adapted to closer, and that's probably what the Rays themselves were going to do this year. But they had 3 or 4 different guys that they were using.
Okay. What do you think they could give up to balance it out to help the Mets?
Well, okay, as far as catchers go now, they made a trade when they traded Malik Smith to Seattle. They got Mike Zunino, and Mike Zunino is supposed to be their starting catcher. During the season, they made a couple of trades and got a couple of very young catchers. One from the Arizona, who was their, I guess, 3rd or 4th on their list, Michael Perez, and he was very impressive until he got injured late in the season. So, you could possibly do something like that. The Rays could flip Michael Perez, who is considered major league ready right now, very good defensive catcher, and he was hitting over 300 when he got injured.
Wow, good qualifications. But it would take more than one guy. It would take a package. Arroyo, the guy the third baseman they got from the Giants.
Yeah, Duffy.
After getting Duffy, who I don't think they're going to give up on, the Rays. I don't think not give up on, but give up.
Well, that's interesting, though, Ralph. They have so many infielders that they were moving guys all over the place. I don't think they'd have a problem because they also got from the Giants Christian Arroyo, if you remember Christian. Okay, and he was expected to become the third baseman. Duffy was supposed to be the shortstop. And then, of course, the Rays have a young shortstop that they just brought up. So I wouldn't overlook the fact that they might be willing to flip Duffy either.
Well, he's one hell of a ball player and great in the clubhouse. Was with the Giants, really ripped the Giants up when he got traded. I think Matt Moore came from him.
Correct.
And then Duffy got hurt. So for a while it was nothing for either side, but Duffy came back very strong this year, and he's a good ball player. Have they given up on Frazier, the Mets, Marty?
No, well, he's got one more year left on his contract, so they haven't given up on him. He was hurt last year more than he ever was before. So, unless they get somebody in a trade, he's going to be penciled in as the starting third baseman. I don't see that changing, really.
Now,
the way I look at it, of course, their number one weakness is closer, and you could say that's their number two weakness too. Yeah, as important as that is, or maybe that sentence didn't make sense, but it's real important that they get a closer. And from what I understand, the A's were really happy with Familia, and they're planning to re-sign him. They just re-signed Rodney and keep that bullpen together. So, and you guys say there are other closers. Kimbrel would be something else. He's used to pitching big games in a big city. I'd like to see him as a Met closer.
Well,
oh, absolutely.
It's big money, though, right? Big money.
Big money, yeah.
But, they're revamping everything in the front office. These guys, high-priced guys coming in, they must have some idea that the Wilponzi are going to open up their coffers in one way or the other, which leads me to Bryce Harper. He'd be something playing center field, and wouldn't it be something if they did open up big with someone like that?
No, it'd be tremendous, but
is that just realistically?
I'm
a dreamer. Is it a pipe dream?
Yes,
Robert,
I think so.
Is it a pipe dream?
Yeah, I think so.
Marty?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
It
was amazing that they.
There's a moment of real sadness for a Met fan if Wilpon playing in the new. All these owners own teams, but they're not in New York. You would think that the Mets deserve an owner that at least would roll the dice every now and again. That's all. And they look at it as an expenditure, and I look at it as an investment. You get a guy like that, how many T-shirts, jackets would he sell? That kind of thing. So,
well, yeah, I mean, they coughed it up for Cespedes, and now they're paying the price for that now. And I don't know if they're going to do that again. We're not. I mean, the kind of money that he supposedly turned down from Washington is insane. I mean,
oh really?
I mean, we're talking $300 million here. I mean, are they nuts? This is where this is heading. I mean, it's insanity. And you think somebody's going to give anybody a 10-year contract again? Not with the analytics anymore. They don't want these guys when they're 36, 37 years old. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
No. So if they're going to take
Bryce Harper turned down a contract of that, does he know that the Yankees or somebody else will come up big?
Well, I mean, obviously, he wants people bidding. They're going to, there was really no reason for him to sign at that time because you got to see what's out there. I mean, they could have offered him $1 billion, I mean, at least go to free agency and see what's being offered. So he could always sign back with Washington. I'm sure that the door is open for him there. It's just he wants to see what else is out there. You don't blame the guy. But hopefully we don't see any more 10-year contracts. I mean,
and also don't forget the Phillies owner came out the other day and said he doesn't care what it takes. Okay, he's willing to spend any amount of money to make the Phillies,
That's what I heard, and I heard that this guy Heyman that's on the MLB Network a lot. He's saying the Phillies could sign both.
Both, right?
Machado and both of them. I'd be shocked, but apparently what you said is correct. This guy obviously doesn't care about money; just wants to win.
No.
The old George Steinbrenner tactics.
Yep.
Well,
also,
on this station, Bill Cashadas interviewed Ron Shapiro, who's a player agent, and he talked about just that, about the Phillies situation and the chances of signing Machado. So if you go to that, it's Philadelphia Baseball, past, present, and personal with Bill Cashadas, and get a rundown on what the Phillies are up to.
Okay. Also, I'm just reading a tweet from Ken Rosenthal as of 8/21. He says that the trade of Edwin Diaz and Robinson Cano trade to the Mets is close.
It's close.
He announced probably Friday.
Oh, shit. Damn.
Wow. So McNeil would be going for Cano.
Well, we're not sure yet. It's a package of the names that I talked about before, but not all of them. And those names, again, were McNeil, Jared Kelenic, Justin Dunn, Jay Bruce, Anthony Swarzak. Frazier's name was also mentioned in that as well. So,
but for how many guys?
But it would be a
not
package of them.
just for Cano and Diaz?
Just for Diaz and Cano?
Diaz, Cano, and supposedly Malik Smith.
Okay. Boy, that's a blockbuster. That's a lot of players. Wow.
Yeah. But like I said, it's not going to be all of the Mets going, but some sort of combination of maybe 3 or 4 of them.
Which leads me to believe that one of them will be McNeil.
Well, if they're getting Cano back.
Yeah.
But if they're getting Cano back, though, maybe he could play third if you're giving up Frazier and keep McNeil.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a matter of who actually winds up going.
Right.
I mean, I can imagine, I don't like it, but, they're not asking me, unfortunately.
Okay, now tomorrow's Friday when they're going to announce this. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
This is what it says. Rosenthal says that the deal could be announced as soon as Friday.
All right. Here's my suggestion, gentlemen. We pause this show, and we will resume it after the trade goes down, and comment then. I won't publish it until then. We'll publish it as news.
Okay. So you want to let us know
when?
I will. It'll be in the next few days. We'll keep communicating, and until then, you're listening to New York Mets baseball, past, present, and future, comfortably zoned radio network. This is part 1 of our offering for the week. So stand by. We'll be back. Stay well, gentlemen.
Okay. Good night.
All right. Adios.
All right.
Night.
Hey, we're back. Mets baseball. It's a day later, Saturday, and we're going to put this show to bed because the deal has been consummated. To the best of my knowledge, it's just awaiting some physicals and what have you. And all three of us have very strong opinions about it, and I want to start with the man who seems to be the most upset, and here he is, Robert Cole.
Good evening. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing.
You sounded
Mariners,
like a little bit of Walter Cronkite there. Good evening.
Yes. The Mariners.
Good evening, Robert, to you. Robert, our correspondent in Tampa, will talk.
Okay. The Mariners are desperate to get rid of Robinson Cano. Okay. The addition of the relief pitcher, okay, is a sweetener. The Mariners could get more for Diaz straight up from another team than what they are getting from the Mets. The Mariners would not make this deal with the Mets if it was Diaz for the young players that the Mets are shipping. Okay? That raises a red flag. All right? They want to get rid of Cano. Now, the Yankees were interested as long as the Mariners would take Jacoby Ellsbury from them. However, that doesn't seem to be happening. One of the other things that aggravates me is originally it was said that the Mariners were going to send $60 million to the Mets to offset Robinson Cano's contract. Okay, I could almost live with that. Now I'm hearing $20 million. Now, if it's in fact $20 million and not $60 million, then the Mets are getting fleeced. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, the Mets were putting a good team together with a good lineup. Okay, you're going to have Robinson Cano, who apparently is going to be insisting on playing second base because, as Marty told us, he wants to be the home run leader as far as second baseman goes before he retires. So he's going to insist on playing second base. The Mets had Jeff McNeil at second base last year, did a good job. Yes, it was only over a couple of months. Yes, he could, suffer a setback, but you're now going to take him out of that. And what do you do with him? You put him at third, and he did not look comfortable the few games he played at third. Okay, this is a young player who is already 26, so you're going to start messing with his head as well.
Hey, what if the Mets flip Cano to, say, the Yankees? They could take him, get Diaz at a pretty good price, and flip Cano, and maybe even take on Ellsbury to do it, because I don't know what his physical status is right now, but he has as much an upside as Lagares, who hasn't been healthy himself. Does that make sense?
I mean, then you're playing again that game of older players with injuries, okay, which seems to be the Mets' strong suit these last few years. Let's get an older player. Let's get somebody with injuries. Like we discussed off air, Billy Hamilton, the very fast center fielder from the Reds, was just non-tendered, so he's out there and available. I'd love to
get him. He's fast. He's got more speed than Lagares, just as good defensively, I think. He's not a hitter, but Lagares hasn't proven to be healthy long enough to say if he can hit, to determine if he can hit. So I'd go for him as an upgrade. But I don't have any idea about the money part of it, what's involved with that. And that's what is, when we were kids, we try to determine who needs what and who needs, who's weak and who's strong. We never factored in the money part, which to me makes it non-fun. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But now with teams worried about, going over the tax threshold, as they call it,
right,
having to pay, luxury tax if they go over a certain salary level, all these teams, including the Yankees now, are very cognizant of that, and they don't want to have to pay the luxury tax. And basically the luxury tax goes to weaker teams, in essence. So teams are very, very cognizant of that. And that's what the problem with this deal is, too, is that the Mets insisted that, Bruce and Swarzak go the other way if they are going to take Cano, to try to offset the salary somewhat. And in the first year, it would, because Bruce, I believe, is getting $13 million this year, $13 million next year. Swarzak's getting $8 million this year. That's almost a wash for this year. But it's, in consequential years, you still have 5 years on Cano's contract. And then in 3 years, he'll be 38, 39, and you're still paying him for 2 more years. But then again, of course, they're still paying Bobby Bonilla, so, that would be very Mets-like.
Right. Maybe they can go into business together. Well, fleecing the Mets are us. Fleecing the Mets are us.
Yes.
And you could add Cespedes to that, in a sense. They still have.
Well, in reality, we all three of us have agreed that they did get some value out of Cespedes. I don't think they get to the World Series 3 years ago.
No question, they don't get to the World Series. He'll always be remembered for that, and that was cool. And but I mentioned this off air, that the best part of 2018, the way I looked at it, was that they developed a young double play combination that can be there 7 years from now. Learn to play together, really get good and what have you. And this brings a new factor in. Marty, you had thoughts. I'll let you talk about Cano. How good a ball player is he? Aside his home runs, which will always help, but is he going to be able to offset some of the things that McNeil was doing, setting the table, getting guys over, that sort of thing? Marty Rose.
Yeah. No, he's not. I don't think he's that kind of player. I think he's more of a power home run gap hitter. It's different than McNeil. I would say is more of a singles hitter, foul line to foul line, get a guy over, like you're saying. But Cano is very good defensively. Definitely better than McNeil was. And
okay,
McNeil,
I was misinformed. I had the impression that McNeil was better defensively. Thank you for that update.
No, I did see him, like you said. I did see him a lot of years playing with the Yankees, and the only thing that people complained about was the same thing that they complained about Manny Machado, where when he thinks he's going to be out, he just jogs down to first base. That's it. Right. Otherwise, he's a good base runner. He'll stretch a double into a triple. Okay, he's a little older now. I don't know how. Like I say, Seattle, I haven't seen Seattle. So I don't know how he's been the last few years. But, his statistics haven't been that bad. I'm sure they're just getting rid of him because of the money situation. And if it is the $60 million, which it has to be, because if it's the $60 million, then each team is going to be paying half his salary. It's like $12 million and $12 million because it's $24 million a year.
Almost a wash.
If it's $20 million, then it makes no sense. That means Seattle's paying only $4 million a year, and the Mets are paying $16. I don't think so. I don't think they go for that.
Okay.
Especially down the line.
something you said really brings up an ongoing thought with me. You mentioned that Cano is more along the Manny Machado kind of ball player, where he won't run out a ball occasionally when he knows thinks he's going to be out, but you run it out for crying out loud. What if the guy grabs the ball?
That was something he always did with the Yankees, and people still complain about that today when they talk about him.
Okay, my point is, and this is just really, there's no real answer for this. It's just, which comes first, the clubhouse chemistry that allows that thing to happen? In other words, you got young players coming up, and they're going to watch the guy that's making the most money on the team, his work habits, and how much does that affect the team? Hey, if I can't run it out, why should I run it?
A lot of guys do that. A lot of guys do that. You see, they take a swing, they're hitting a ground ball, the head goes down right away. Damn it, Or if they pop it up. A lot of guys don't run it out. It's not just one or two guys. Maybe because he's making so much money that these guys get talked about more than other guys that don't. And not everybody is Brandon Nimmo out there every time. They're just not.
Right.
So
I understand.
Don't think
but
that's
when it's the guy making the most money, it's got to irk the fan the most, right?
Well, it does, and they do talk about it. You hear it on the air all the time. People calling up complaining about guys. This is one of the things that they complain about. But how big a deal is it really? Maybe once in a blue moon, he'll get a double when he should have had a triple.
No, but how big a deal is so subjective, because how it affects the other players' mentality about the game is what we're talking about. And if he's not running it out, is he stretching properly? Is he taking care of himself? Doing all the things that go into making a team chemistry of how you get the job done. If you got a guy like Pete Rose to watch about getting the most out of himself, there's got to be some inspiration there, as opposed to, just, hey, look at this guy. And which brings to another point. Would you rather watch a Met team composed of so let me back up. What are you going to do with McNeil? If he's not in the lineup every day, you're losing that table setter. Where are you going to play him?
Okay, but here's the thing. There's going to be other deals that we don't know about yet. There's a lot of time before spring training starts. There's going to be other deals. What I had said, and you guys disagreed, but one thing they could do is platoon him with Fraser at third base, because one's lefty and one's righty. They could do that. But I think there's going to be other trades. They still need a catcher. They still need a center fielder. Although they could start the year with Lagares, and it wouldn't make that much of a difference until Cespedes comes back. But I still think there's going to be other deals, and let's not close the book on that yet. Who knows what? But
I'm sure isn't it a shame that we got Bruce back healthy and now he's gone?
I don't think it's that much
swinging
of a
the
loss.
bat pretty good towards the end of the season.
He was.
Yeah, but in a sense, though, he was going to be a sort of a roadblock, either to an outfielder or first base with Alonso. The Rays in the play for Syndergaard is getting a lot of traction down here in Tampa. Mark Topkin, who is the Rays beat writer, has thrown a few things out. Some of the packages supposedly being talked about would be Matt Duffy, Kevin Kiermaier, a young catcher who the Rays prize a lot, and a couple of their, young and up-and-coming arms.
Well, if Kiermaier is the center fielder that he's been for the last 2 or 3 years defensively, you got something there. The young catcher, and no matter who he is, the Rays have 2 or 3 good young catchers that they need so much. And what's the third one you mentioned?
Matt Duffy.
Matt Duffy is a terrific ball player. He really is good, and he's good in the clubhouse. He really killed the Giants when they traded Matt Duffy to the Rays for Matt Moore, and they were never the same. They went downhill after that, and it was more. Of course, he got hurt. It took him a while to really contribute to the Rays. But when he did, you can attest to that, Robert Cole. He was a good ball player. That would be, I'd give up Syndergaard for those 3 right there.
Plus, the Rays would be throwing in 2 of their almost ready young pitchers, including one guy whose name escapes me at the moment, who is supposed to be the next guy up, so to speak. The Rays are loaded with pitching, as we know. They have 5 guys that had Tommy John last year that are all projected to be starting pitchers, and others behind them in the minors. So, it would not hurt them at all to give up a couple of young stud pitchers. And that to me, would be a better deal than what they're talking about with, bringing over Cano.
Oh, okay. If it's an either or, you guys are talking like the Cano deal is already set.
Well, no, it is not an either or, but I'm just throwing that out myself that if it become an either or, but they have, the Mets have to first sign DeGrom and then decide what they want to do with Syndergaard. And the last thing I heard from Jeff Wilponzi was that, that'll be up to the new Brody. And whatever Brody says he wants us to do, that's what we'll do.
Well, and he's the guy who represented Cano for a long time, and his firm, the back financing on that, he's not supposed to be involved with that, but there's a lot of wink and nods going on in politics, the church, the synagogue, big business, and baseball is no different. So the fact that I think they've let the fox in the hen house, if you have your GM making decisions based on any relationship with any of these guys, and especially I'm thinking this way, if it hasn't affected the DeGrom didn't immediately become extended, then what good is it? Marty, I'll let you react to that.
Well, they don't have to. That's the point. They don't have to do it yet. He's still in arbitration. He could ask for the moon. He could get $20 million in arbitration. Easy, He could ask for whatever he wants, basically. I don't know what the heck the team's going to offer him, but I don't think they're going to offer him a long deal until they have to. And it doesn't sound like they're going to be doing anything with Wheeler either. And he's a guy that's free agent at the end of next season. So I just don't think they're going to do anything. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sorry?
Yeah, the concerning thing there, though, Marty, is, Van Wegenen, when he was the agent for DeGrom said in the middle of this past season, okay, the Mets either have to extend us or trade us. We're going to insist on it.
Yeah, well, now he's on the other side, though.
Now he's on the other side, so that's what's going to make it interesting.
It's like DeRocha managing the Giants after managing Brooklyn. In a lot of ways, if you can see the analogy there.
Well, it's up to the Wilponzi how much they want to cough up. You know, I mean, who knows? I mean, they just kind of settled the whole front office with people. You know, these guys are just getting to know each other. So, you know, they're going to have to talk it over, decide what's best, and then they got to go to the Wilponzi and find out, you know, how much are they willing to offer this guy.
Because I can understand DeGrom wanting an extension now because he's 30. Okay,
Sure.
You wait till the end of his contract, he's 32. And, you know, it's a little harder to negotiate a 5-year at 32 than it is at 30. So, I mean, I certainly can understand where he's coming from.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, he's not a free agent till 21. So,
correct.
Yeah.
Well,
they got time, but they got to keep him happy too.
Yes.
That's right, and it never goes well when you have to go to arbitration against your own player.
No,
especially if one of the guys that's going against your own player is the guy that used to represent him.
Well, what could they say negative about the guy?
Right.
You know, you could sit down with an arbiter and, oh yeah, he really stunk last year, and you know, he only. What the hell could they possibly say? The guy was like the best pitcher in baseball. You know, if I'm the best pitcher in baseball, I should be making the most money.
$20 million anyway. It would behoove them to give the kids some guarantees, even though they don't have to. He's special. God knows he's special.
You know, he's better than Kershaw. He's better than all these guys now. Right now. So he should be making similar money. No question about it. So.
And, of course, you know, he would take for 5 years less money than he would, you know, take for 1 year in arbitration.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You would think that, yeah.
That's very true.
So, I mean, it makes sense from a financial sense.
That would be a good deal for both teams. It involves a terrific amount of logic, and so I'm predicting it's not going to go that way.
Well, because we are talking about the Mets here. The Mets and logic do not go hand in hand.
No. Hey, guys, we have a terrific segment here, and we'll keep in touch over the week. We'll see what happens. We'll see if another show is warranted or if we can take a week off. We've set the table. We've told our feelings, and that's the best we can do. Nobody cares more than the three of us about all this crapola, as a lot of people would describe it. So we're keeping up, and I'm so grateful to have you both as contributors, Marty Rose and Robert Cole. I'm Ralph Tyko, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. We shall be back. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
Be well. Thanks for listening, everybody. Adios. The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.